15-20, and I'll put it on the line. But I do have some things to say about this fight before I get into the breakdown of how I saw this fight going. First off, what the fuck is up with that referee? This dude, above my head, what the fuck was he doing? He had the audacity to warn Shawn Porter for pushing Errol Spence down when Errol Spence was constantly leaning on top of Shawn Porter. Then I counted in the third round 7 low blows back to back, and the ref just didn't look at it at all. And in the 7th round, I counted at least 3 low blows, and it could have been more. So I don't know what was going on with the referee. Also, I saw times to where the referee would be real quick to step in to separate when Porter looked like he was turning Spence to get the advantage coming off of the break. And then I also saw times when when Spence was doing the same thing, but the referee wouldn't step in because Spence was getting the better of Porter off the turns. Then one other thing, I saw the referee warn Shawn Porter because Porter pushed Spence off of him and hit him when he was coming off the ropes. Now, in boxing, it is illegal to push somebody, but it is not illegal to push somebody off of you when they're clinched up on you. You can work out of the clinch or you can push them off of you in the clinch. The only time, and the commentators talked about this, and I'm about to get on them in a minute, the only time it's illegal to push is when y'all are facing each other and you push them back. Or you're close to the ropes and you push them against the ropes to try to get that spring attack. But in the clinch, you can definitely push somebody off of you to get free. So that was a bullshit warning. Now, on to the commentators. Oh my goodness. This is why I cannot listen to Fox commentators. First off, Lennox Lewis is, and you know I give Lennox Lewis props where props is due. He was the last unified / unanimous undisputed champion in the heavyweight division. He was the last one to have all the major belts. And every person who ever beat him, he came back and beat them. So I give him credit, even though I didn't like his style under Emmanuel Stewart, who was his coach. But this dude, I have never, like every time I listen to him, he is so biased. He will suck dick till the fucking nuts turn into little bitty raisins. He gets all the cum out the shaft. And I'm sorry, it's explicit. I know I should be doing this towards smaller kids, but this dude sucks the most dick for fighters. All he does is amp them up every fight after fight after fight after fight after fight. He picks his side before the fight starts, and he only talks about what that fighter's doing right. And anytime somebody makes a comment about the opposition, he immediately takes up for the fighter that he's fangirling for. So I can't stand him. Secondly, oh my goodness, I don't even know the name of all the commentators, but one of the commentators made the most audacious statement, and I have to rub my face on this, because these people are getting paid to do this. They're getting paid a lot of money to do this, and they can't even fact check. This guy said Errol Spence was the first person to ever knock Shawn Porter down he said it in the 12th round, okay? He made that comment in the 12th round where Porter got knocked down in the 11th. But if my memory, and it could be wrong, serves right, Adrian Broner knocked Shawn Porter down in the exact same round, the 11th round. Now, I might be wrong. It might have been the 10th round, but it was the 10th or 11th round. And if it was the 11th round that Broner knocked fucking Porter down, for this idiot to say that Porter's never hit the canvas before, that Spence is the first one to do it, and for Porter to fall in the same round that he fell in before just shows oh my goodness. Ridiculous. Now, now that I'm off of that, let's go to the CompuBox. And I have to keep rubbing my fucking head and closing my eyes and getting frustrated. Okay, I took a deep breath. There are versions of this fight on YouTube that you can watch. I actually bought this fight. I've been sick, fell asleep, did not watch the fight, so I actually watched it this morning on YouTube. Even though I paid for it, I just was not feeling up to staying up that late, being that I'm just getting over the flu. So go back and watch it. I dare you to challenge this, okay? Watch the punch stats. I watched, and I saw it throughout the whole fight, but you can watch the first 2 rounds, right? Shawn Porter stays hovering around like 7 connected punches, and you can count at least 10 punches before it ticks up to 8 punches landed. So I don't know if this fight like hit a portal and they went to the UK and the fucking CompuBox dude was sipping tea every time Porter was landing punches, or what happened. But it's like they just disregarded the landing punches that Porter was doing, and Porter had to land, I don't know, 6 to 10 punches before they count 1. Ridiculous. Now, with that being said, before this fight came on, I said I felt Porter would win. I felt he would outbox Errol Spence. I said Errol Spence is like a board coming forward. He's there to be hit. People who do a lot of bobbing and weaving and lateral movements cause him a lot of problems. That was seen in Kell Brook. That was seen with Marky Garcia. It's been seen in other fights. He's a very straightforward moving fighter without a lot of ability to get out of the way of punches. And that was exploited. You could look at his face. He was highly beat up. With that being said, I keep this straight down the middle, unbiased. And sometimes, especially when people are saying Porter got robbed, it is in my best interest for my channel to say, oh, I was right, my prediction was right, but I was wrong. Because I have too much integrity to lie about my results and how I saw it going. What I saw was a fight that was a draw. I had it 114, 6 rounds to 6 rounds. But with the knockdown, that caused it to be an 8-10 round for Spence. So therefore you have to deduct 1 point, and it turned into a 113 for Errol Spence. That's how I saw it. I've got my rounds wrote down. I'm going to tell you what rounds I saw were which. Y'all can go back and watch. If y'all disagree, let me know. But this is how I saw it, off of punches landed, off of counters, off of ring generalship, just the whole spectrum that I do my cards off of. And outside of 2 cards that I've done live, I'm normally within a point or identical to the majority ruling of the judges, unless it's a robbery. So with that being said, round 1 I had for Porter. Round 2 and 3 I had for Spence. I made a little note that in round 3, that's when the 7 low blows happened, which I discussed earlier. I also made a note to talk about the body lean, and I'll tell y'all about that after this. So anyways, round 1 Porter. Round 2 and 3 for Spence, I had round 4 for Porter, rounds 5 and 6 for Spence, round 7 for Porter, round 8 for Spence, round 9 for Porter, round 10 for Porter, round 11 for Spence, round 12 for Porter. I had it 6-6, but once again, when you get knocked down, you no longer have a 10-9 round. You have a 10-8 round, with the person who getting knocked down now has an 8. So by that alone, doing a little simple math, I had it 114-113. The winner, Errol Spence. Now, what I have been seeing and reading comments is this. A lot of people want to talk about Shawn Porter, saying that he's not a A-class fighter, that he's a B, C-class fighter when it comes to skills and all this bullshit nonsense. Sorry, I'm drinking because my throat is sore. That's what happens when you're getting over a cold, which is a bunch of bullshit, because I want to ask a question to anybody who watches this. Outside of Kell Brook, who has outboxed Shawn Porter in all of his matches? Because to my mind, nobody has outboxed him. See, people, they get confused with boxing. They don't really, I won't say people don't know boxing, but they don't understand all the dynamics. You have different styles, different fighters, different techniques, okay? What most people see is they see defensive fighters like James Toney, Floyd Mayweather, Sweet Pea, etc. Or they see aggressive, we get you good sharpshooters like I said, Lennox Lewis, the Klitschko's, the Muhammad Ali's that are real good sharpshooting. Defensive again, Bernard Hopkins. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're used to judging off of. Either real clean, crisp, pop, 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 hit you where it counts, or defensive geniuses. But there's more to it than that. Shawn Porter doesn't fall into those categories. That's not his technique. That's not his style. Shawn Porter is a smother fighter. He gets in on you, and he, for the most part, now he has had a couple of fights where he's fought on the outside and done decent. But he is the type of fighter to get up in your shit and stay there. Now, not always are his punches, say, the cleanest, the straightest is what I mean by cleanest. Sometimes he throws looping, sometimes it looks slapping, but that's all part of that technique. That technique is designed to beat you down. It's designed to weather you out. So when you are weathered, you erode. And then later down the stretch, you're so beat up, that's when that style really takes effect on somebody. And that's when you see all them little slaps here, the inside of the gloves, where the fingers are. You know what I mean? Like the punches that don't look like they would hurt because they're too overthrown, the little short nothing punches. All that builds up to break you down, and that's what he does good. He's very good at it. And anybody who says he's not a good boxer, they don't understand different dynamics of boxing. They only know offensive sharpshooting and defensive geniuses. That's it. That's all they know. But there's more to boxing than there's them two styles. And I would argue that Shawn Porter is a very good boxer. Because, in my opinion, and we can touch on Keith Thurman real fast, Shawn Porter beat Keith Thurman. He should have won that fight. So, really, the only person to ever beat Shawn Porter is Kell Brook. And the Kell Brook that beat him, like I stated way before, was a whole different fighter than the one that met Spence. So, with that being said, I've never truly seen Shawn Porter outbox. I've never seen anybody dominate him. Even Kell Brook had a close fight with him. And Kell Brook is a very good boxer, technically. So anybody who wants to argue that he's not elite, not up there with the best, is ridiculous. He's beat all the top guys at welterweight, junior welterweight. The big names he's beat. He's been in there with. Or he's lost like Keith Thurman, but really he should have beat him, in my opinion. Now, the Keith Thurman that fought Shawn Porter, we saw a glimpse of that in the Pacquiao fight towards the end of the stretch when he was starting to get the ring rust off and starting to actually take over the fight against Pacquiao, but it was just a little bit too late. So, Keith Thurman, primed, I think, would beat Manny Pacquiao, judging off of the later rounds in that fight when you could actually see the rust wearing off. Now, Shawn Porter, in my opinion, beat that Keith Thurman. That was good. So all your top welterweights, Porter's been in there with and never been outboxed. So for people who say he's not a good boxer, and I don't mean to drag on about Porter this whole video because it's also about Spence, it's just ridiculous to get back to the point. Now, to be honest, because like I said, I like to keep this as unbiased as I can be. I was very impressed by how well Spence did against Porter. How well he started to adapt in the later half of the fight. Now, even though I gave Porter the majority, let me see, from the 6th round on, I had 1 Porter, 2, 3, 4 rounds for Porter. And the 6th round on, so it kind of sounds counterintuitive what I just said. but it's not, because you started to see, even though Spence I had losing later rounds, he started to time Porter and figure him out, and that's why he ended up dropping Porter in the 11th round. You could see that he actually started to think and started to change the way he was fighting tactically, where he was catching Porter and actually hurting him. The punches were coming less, but he was starting to figure him out. Now, with that being said, I told my moderator, regulator, in Hangouts that I was like, you're going to see Spence look very average in this fight. And that seems to be the consistency that I'm getting consistent. I can't even talk right now. My throat is way too dry. I'm sorry, y'all, for keep drinking in the middle of this. The consensus seems to be that he did look very average. Like I said, he was very hittable. Like I said, he did lack head movement, like I said, and he did lack foot angles, as I said, and he really didn't have the strengths to play to Porter's weaknesses, like I said. But with all that being said, I was very impressed by Spence, how he did start to adapt. I felt this was a lot closer than I was giving him credit for. I was surprised at how he made this a dog fight, how he stayed in this fight, how he didn't get flustered, because he was hurt a couple of times in this fight. People might not have saw it, but he was. He did get hurt by a couple of punches, but he kept his composure, kept going. He showed heart, showed a chin, didn't go down, ended up knocking Porter down in the later half to where I felt Porter was starting to take control. This is what people have to understand who have never fought. This is the type of fight that Spence needed. This is the type of fight that will turn him into the myth that he is. From here on, Spence is only going to get better off of this. This was a learning curve for him, and he passed. In my opinion, he passed the learning curve. And if they are to rematch, Shawn Porter will lose, in my opinion, the rematch, and I foresee it going well in favor to Spence in a rematch, if not putting Porter down more than once in the rematch, because Spence has all the room in the world to grow. Like I was telling people, and I've said it, he's not the technical best. And I don't believe he has all this power that they've been alluding to him having, and it's been proven now that he doesn't have that Mike Tyson power at welterweight. So, or I should say the Manny Pacquiao power. He doesn't really have that. That's not where his power comes from. It came from fighting lower opposition and looking good. Like a lot of people can, like Kimbo in backyards knocking people out. So, the thing about Spence is he has a lot of room to grow, whereas I feel Porter, what he did against Spence is the best he'll do against Spence. So in other words, to make sense of what I just said, in a rematch, Porter will only be as good as he was in the first one, whereas Spence can come in better. Porter, skill-wise, is close to capped out, in my opinion. And I don't think his room for growth will be that much, no matter the delay, whether it's 6 months, a year, or they meet 2 years down the road again. I don't see Porter evolving that much, whereas Spence, this showed all the flaws, all the chinks in the armor. This was the humbling fight where they can go back to the drawing board, work on a new blueprint, a new schematic, put him in a whole new plan together, and rebuild him to be the myth that he's supposed to be, which he's not. So, all in all, to end this 20-minute video, I felt Spence did a lot better than I thought he did. I had Spence winning by 1 point. I thought Shawn Porter would have schooled him more. And being that I had this a draw, for Spence to step up in quality this much to a draw, I think in the future, as long as he stays against competitive fighters, the sky's the limit. With that being said, he will get knocked the fuck out. He is going to get knocked the fuck out if he gets in there with Bud. Bud Crawford will destroy him. There should be no argument at this point to whether that's true or not. This showed. If you thought Shawn Porter did a good job against Errol Spence, don't put him in there with Bud. Bud will hurt this man. Like, Spence, although he showed a chin and a lot of heart, Porter's not hitting like Crawford, and he's not putting fucking combos together like Crawford does, and he can't switch foot to exploit weaknesses like Crawford can. So, I don't know. I see Spence up there with the elite of the welterweights, if you want to call them elites nowadays, fighters in that division, but he's definitely up there. He can definitely hang with them. He proved that with this fight, but he is not ready. He is not ready for Crawford. And I'm going to end this without a negative on Spence. Spence, you did a good job. Take this as a learning lesson. In my opinion, it will probably bow in your best interest to fight Porter again in a rematch. And then work on your skills, because Porter is a very good, I don't want to say sparring partner, but opponent to get you ready for Crawford, because you're not ready right now. So I would do this rematch. Or I would go for Pacquiao, although I worried about Spence early against Pacquiao, but I don't know. If Jeff Horn could weather the storm, I think Errol Spence can probably beat Pacquiao, but I think Pacquiao would give him a run for his money in at least the first 5 to 6 rounds. Outside of that, that's my 2 cents. Porter, you did a good job. Spence, you did a way better job than I thought you did. I now moved to 15 out of 20 correct. So I'm 15-5, which isn't a bad record. And that's it. Keep up the good work, y'all.